Here I am in San Francisco. I was just speaking at a conference in Toronto. I should have done a video there, but didn't quite happen. I was having a great time. Having a great time in San Francisco too. But let's have a look at what happened in this conference, because it's so great when we cross the oceans and chat to people from around the world. First of all, it was the International Association of Business Communicators conference. One of the biggest in the world for business communicators, so PR, comms, strategic comms. And these people are so fascinating because they're the intersection between businesses and the public. So they've got two prerogatives. One is to protect the company from pain and to promote the company where possible, or the individuals that they're working with. We saw many different panels. Every single conversation slipped into AI. And what we're seeing is across the world the same issues. And a few of them we're not talking about enough. My presentation was irreplaceable in the age of AI. So I was talking about what is happening in companies, and I was using research from Gartner, which of course is one of the biggest tech consultancies in the world. And it has the latest research on what the best companies are doing to deal with the AI issue. First issue was, of course, how skilled are senior leaders in the space of AI? And there's this great graph which shows CEOs' confidence in AI readiness of all of their C-suite team. And it's not very high. In fact, for CFOs, it's around 16%, and it goes down very quickly from there. The question then is how are people upskilling themselves in AI? And that is haphazard and random at best. Some companies I spoke to over in Toronto are associated with universities, and they're getting excellent quality AI information. But yes, the learning about AI is very, very random. So people are watching webinars, they're going to conferences, they're speaking to vendors. There's so many vendors here in San Francisco. In fact, so many billboards on all the different AI companies. Agentic infrastructure was the one that I saw as soon as I was coming in from the airport. So there's a lot happening in the AI space, but not a lot of knowledge or real information and implementation of these AI strategies. So a lot of the best companies, they've set up an AI council where they have all the C-suite sitting in once a month talking about how they're going to roll out AI, what's going to happen to people's roles, where are the challenges or risks involved with AI, and how are they going to get their return on investment. And that piece is really interesting because it's costing companies a lot, and they used to look at subscriptions with their software, and now we're looking at tokens, and that's very hard to understand how many tokens will be needed and to plan for that. So that is a great risk. But the top companies, they're looking at two types of return on investment: blue money, which is what they call the increase in productivity, and green money, which is the direct revenue that they're making thanks to the AI software that they're implementing. Now, in terms of blue money or productivity, increase in productivity, this is very hard to calculate. So Lenovo has done something great. They're creating AI value stories, and they've given 14 different triggers to their employees so that they can help to report on their increase in productivity. And some of those triggers might be time saving, which is an obvious one, but speed in decision making, reduction of errors, and there's a whole list of 14 that I can share with you. And then they write down what has happened and any data or metrics that backs it up. So I'm happy to share that. The return on investment for direct revenue to companies is unclear at this point, and that is something that companies will be looking at. But we are seeing in Australia, we have the second highest AI-driven tech job loss happening in Australia. And that is particularly fascinating, and probably because we're a smaller market and international companies are thinking, all right, let's try a strategy in Australia, see if it works, and then we might roll it out internationally. The issue is that a lot of companies aren't being transparent or having these conversations with their employees, and for good reason, because of the level of risk. Like if you're going to make a massive strategic change and that leaks before you're ready to make that change, then you could lose valuable staff. The flip side of that is that people who may lose their jobs aren't looking at a progression or a plan on how or what to do post losing their jobs. And in fact, I was just at the airport in Toronto where I missed my flight, unfortunately, because I was looking at the arrival time in San Francisco rather than the departure time in Toronto. But anyway, we rectified the situation. But I was talking to this wonderful woman behind the counter, and she's about to lose her job. She knows it because in October, they're going to fully automate all the check-in counters. The company has said that this is going to happen, but has had zero conversation with her or her colleagues as to what's going to happen for her. So how are we going to deal with this massive shift and change? Well, firstly, start having more of these conversations. And secondly, looking at the individuals and what they can do. Are they going to upskill? One of the panels that we saw talked about really working on your personal brand. So even if you are an employee in a company, what are you doing to show that you're valuable, that you're having the conversations you need to? And that is incredibly crucial. Posting daily on LinkedIn, which sounds horrible and hurts a lot. A photo is better than a video. Unfortunately, I shoot a lot of videos, but I'll go back to posting photos. And simply defining your voice and your value through your thought leadership. So thought leadership is a massive thing, which means what of my knowledge, experience, perspective can I bring to this topic or conversation? And that is where I give my biggest tip, which is to make sure that you always do your first draft in your head, not using AI, because you want to keep on developing your thought leadership, your perspective, your values, beliefs, and ideas, because that is what will make you incredibly valuable. And to all the communicators in this conference, I said, why don't you create an AI second brain for each of the senior executives? Then not only can you create press releases and put together their story and lots of information that they will agree with because it's in their own words. You've used all their documents and thought leadership in the second brain to create written pieces for them. But then you can also test your ideas. You can go in and say, all right, if I'm to propose this to this executive, what will they say? Will they say yes? Will they say no? What will they say? And that is the fascinating part of being in charge of creating someone's AI second brain. Furthermore, they're journalists, a lot of them, so they can interview the senior leaders and bring out all of that information. We can also use AI tools to interview us to create that second brain. But when I asked the room how many had created their own AI second brain, only 2 people or 3 people raised their hand. So it hasn't quite taken off yet. So that is the summary all over the place of what's happening in AI across the world at the moment. But also what we need to do is to continue to build our personal brand, to speak in a passionate, concise way about what you believe in and why, and continue to look at your industry and what's happening so that you can future-proof yourself, like de-risk your future so that you're continually growing, evolving, and changing. That's it from not so sunny San Francisco. Many people have told me here, I'm like, it's freezing. I had to buy this jacket. I was so cold. But many people have told me that Mark Twain said his coldest winter ever was the summer of San Francisco. So apparently I shouldn't have been surprised. But have a look at this view. How nice is it? Okay, it's not the Golden Gate Bridge, but it's a bridge nonetheless. And it's a beautiful expanse of water. And being Australian, I always love to be near the water. Thank you so much for your attention. I know this is a bit of a longer one, but there's so much to be said here, and we need to continue to be influential as leaders. I look forward to continuing the conversation and back to checking out San Fran. See you later.